What's up, guys, and welcome back to Gabe Miller Music. Today I'm going to be showing you how I make full songs on the Novation Circuit, not just loops. So essentially what I'm going to be doing is taking a couple of loops that I've already made on the circuit. So I've already got these couple of session files set up with patterns and such, and I'm going to turn that into a full track and show you all the tricks that I use to create interest and turn a relatively simple musical idea into a full song. The song I'll be working on is from my VidCon vlog. It's a synthwave track that up until now I hadn't developed into a full song, so I'm going to do that now on camera and talk you through the process. Alright, so I'm going to start this off by playing basically what I've got so far. So that goes into this, which goes into this. And by the way, this synth track right here, not doing anything. We'll get to that in a second, but for now, I've just got the one synth track going and then all four drum tracks. So the first easy thing that I'm noticing is the hi-hat. Bringing that in immediately changes the energy level, and I'll take advantage of this later on. And there are a few different things I can do with the synth. Obviously, there's starting off just with the bass line, bringing in the arpeggio, and then bringing in the double time arpeggio. Those are some ways I can up the energy level, and then also introducing the chord progression is another way that I can immediately bring in some energy. This is a technique I use a lot, starting from a position of just being having a looping simple melody with one note in the bass line to actually introducing a chord progression that changes things up quite nicely. And then the last thing I have, let me mute this stuff, is filter movement. This is the other session that I have, because I have this split up into two sessions. So this one, what it does is it drops the arpeggio down an octave, keeps the bass line where it is, and introduces that main melody. So I've got everything I need basically to work backwards. I know what I'm trying to build to, and also this will be pretty easy to wind down. All I have to do is mute the melody, kind of wind everything down and go for a nice calm outro. So I know what I'm building towards, and I have a bunch of different tools I can use to get there. Then it's a matter of feeling it out, basically. So if I'm going to run through this, let's say we start off with the hi-hat muted, maybe even mute the snare, and then filter this down. That's too much. Running all the drums now. Start filtering it up. So at this point, we've introduced all the drums, and we've heard this one little bass line going on quite a bit, so we're ready for a major change. So that's when we drop the arpeggio in. And notice over the course of that intro, I was filtering this up. Once again, you have some major abrupt changes and then a bunch of subtle change going on at the same time. Ready for another abrupt change? So as you can see, that chord progression, when you've been hearing just this one bass line looping over and over, it's pretty exciting at first because it's new, but then it starts to get old, and bringing that chord progression, especially the moment when it hits the home chord, that is a super kind of exciting moment and tells the listener, oh, this is ramping up, there's something interesting happening here. So from here, I would probably have this main melody loop a couple of times, because that's one of the kind of the main sections that we've been building to. This is our first kind of peak moment. Then comes the time to break it all down so I can build it back up to that big main section. So what I'm going to do here, once this has gone on, and I'm not going to let it go through the full progression here, once again, so we can build up some tension. Then go for the filter sweep. Bring it in like that. The other thing I could have done, which actually now that I think of it is a better way to do it, is when I go to break it down, intro it like this. Filter it up, let's go. So we've built up properly to this moment instead of just dropping you into it. And we've done that by using a combination of synth filters and the main filter, and then also just kind of some sense of when the audience would get bored, how to bring in novelty and whatnot. And this is something you learn by studying a lot of arrangements, and eventually it becomes a little more intuitive. Two other things I want to mention real quick is build up your sessions with the arrangement in mind. So for instance, for this big climactic section, I might go in, I'll duplicate this, and I'll make this one the one that I'm going to drop you into for that breakdown that introduces the melody. So I'm going to mute all these drums. That seems appropriately laid back. Let's save this. And essentially now, once I'm in this, I can go straight to this. And then once I've built this up and I want everything to come in all at once, I can immediately jump to. Using sessions is a really powerful way to get the most out of the circuit. It allows you to make some pretty drastic changes in an arrangement in a very smooth way. Since these behave just like patterns, it's a really useful feature that I use constantly to build songs. The other thing I want to mention, and this is not something I've actually done on this song, but one thing I'll do quite a bit on more kind of dance music is do build-ups, like proper snare or kick build-ups where you have the thing rising in pitch and everything's getting all hype and then you go straight into a drop. And so one thing, for those of you who aren't familiar with this ability, is to say, let me just demonstrate this. Let me mute everything else. What you can do is you can duplicate this out. And I might have that build even further. I'll go in some micro timings and have it go like that. But what I can do now, since I have all these patterns out, is I can go ahead and automate the pitch to rise over time. That's pretty jank because I didn't really go in and clean it up at all, but if I took a little bit of time over it, you can see that snare rise will pretty much go along on its own. What this means is that I can then adjust this filter, or adjust this filter, or whatever, adjust any other parameters, maybe bring in a drop element slowly, bring up the energy, change through patterns, and let that snare rise run in the background. And then if you also go in and use the shift to like chain patterns in a specific order that will go on automatic, you can basically automate your entire buildup and then control just like one or two parameters over time. That way you can have a very complex buildup that transitions you into a different section well with a lot of moving parts that all kind of moves on its own. So with all that said, I'm going to go ahead and take a stab at doing a proper arrangement of this track. And as per usual for me, I'm going to try to do this all in one go so I don't have to stitch anything together, which makes for a much better video and means I don't have to do any editing after the fact, which is nice. So, here we go. And that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to watch a video where I make some beats completely from scratch on the circuit, you can click or tap up over here. And if you would like to watch another synthwave jam, you can click or tap down over here. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back with a new video next time. Peace.